目前我们上海没有封城，现在也不必封城。基于当前上海的疫情形势，我们将根据区域风险，
咱们也就下定决心封上3、5天啊，封上1周，不行吗？不行，为什么不行？因为上海，我们这个城市承载了不仅仅是上海人民自己的上海，我们这个城市还承载了在全国社会经济当中发挥了重要的功能。我想我们全部的上海市民应该有这样的大局观。
Finally, Nathan Rich tells a little bit of truth. You know, it's about time. And for a moment, I thought that he was going to continue to be truthful and not backpedal. And then he fooled me again. Of course he did. He took my positive mindset, backpedaled, and went against everything that he was saying. But let's get into the video here.
My American friends who hadn't spoken to me in a while were messaging me wondering if I was okay. The last time my American friends did this is when they were worried we here in China were all dying from COVID. At the time, they had over 1 million cases and we had literally almost 0. But remember, we're the brainwashed ones.
He talks about how his friends in America were contacting him, asking him how he was doing. While we had 1 million cases in America, they had practically nothing, or almost 0, he says, in China. Let's be very honest here. Let's nip this in the butt from the beginning. China is lying about the COVID numbers. It has since day one. It is doing it now. It was doing it then. It's doing it today, tomorrow, and will continue to do so for the foreseen future. That's not going to change. And anyone that believes that that graph of it going down is real is retarded. You are naive, and I don't know how to help you at this point. I really don't. It's laughable at best to believe these numbers that are coming from the government.
The central parts of Shanghai really started locking down around the beginning of April. At first, we were told 4 days, then that was changed, and then that was changed, and so on. In the beginning, we didn't have much trouble getting food, then everything was shut down.
He continues to talk about the lies and the inconsistencies of the Chinese government. They were told the lockdowns would last 4 days, and then they lasted longer. And they were told that they would only last a few more days, and then they lasted longer. He admits that the Chinese government has lied from the beginning about the amount of time. But he is still so naive to believe the numbers that the Chinese government is putting out to the public, even though we know for a fact that they lie about the economic numbers of China. We know for a fact that they lie about the Uyghurs in China. We know about many things that China continues to lie about on a daily basis. Why would the COVID numbers be any different? Why would you assume that they're being any more honest about this than they do anything else?
And as usual, the people whining and crying about the situation the most are extremely disproportionately the foreigners. The general attitude I've come across here in Shanghai with foreigners is, all the Chinese people are supposed to go out of their way to take care of them. Quite a sense of entitlement, and one of the reasons I really have not done a lot of meeting with foreigners in Shanghai. I just can't stand to be around that kind of attitude because it's infuriating.
He mentions the people complaining the most are foreigners. This is terribly naive. This is probably in many ways correct though, right? Or at least to foreigners it's the loudest, right? Because as foreigners we know other foreigners. But here's one thing. Foreigners do have experience with freedoms. Real freedoms. The freedoms that many Chinese people have never experienced their entire lives. They've never lived anything different, right? For a foreigner that has experienced freedoms from a Western world to go to China and to be shoved inside of a building for 20 plus days, that's going to be a little hectic, right? But yeah, we're the brainwashed ones. No, Nathan, it's you that are brainwashed.
Anyway, we don't need to care about the literally millions of messages from foreigners complaining that they can't get blueberries on that day, or that they didn't get onions, or that the COVID testing time conflicts with their online dance classes.
He says, oh, they complain that the Chinese are supposed to take care of them. But Nathan, isn't that what the Chinese government is supposed to do? Isn't the Chinese government the one that tells everyone that they're going to take care of them? Doesn't the Chinese government tell them that they're going to provide them with health care, and they're going to provide them with free transportation or cheap transportation or whatever, right? The Chinese government says that people must depend on them as the government to protect them, to do everything that they can. Whereas if in the Western world, we seem to give people the tools that they need to be individuals. So do you really believe you're that naive that the people that are only complaining are mostly foreigners? Horrible. He then mocks people, talking about how they can't get blueberries or onions. Nathan, Chinese people are also in that same position. They also can't get onions. They also aren't getting blueberries. They're complaining, and you're choosing to ignore it. You're complaining to side with the government over the people. Those messages are out there from Chinese people complaining, and we have seen them.
Because the real reality is, some things were screwed up. Some people got government-provided food that was subpar. Some people got government-provided food that was subpar.
早晨4点多钟就来了，到现在都几点了？这个菜是不是要全部烂掉？水也没得喝。上海有小卖铺有没有？吃没得吃。我是来支援的，无偿的。我现在我连温饱都解决不了。
知道我们有浦东的居民、浦东的朋友们，他们收到大礼包，上面印的是宝山区政府。你让我们作为宝山区大场镇的居民是作何感想？同时，你知道吗？前面2天你们搞的所谓
Some animals got abused, even killed. Some quarantine zones were or are unacceptable living quarters. Some people were not able to get proper medical attention when they needed it.
我也需要上面有好的政策来给我，我可以对居民有交代。现实是没有，知道吧？没有，这个工作让我身心疲累。
要把他打死！哎呦天哪！
Here's where Nathan really backpedals, though, and tries to justify the Chinese government. He says some mistakes were made. He does this, of course, to seem more credible, to seem more human, to seem more factual and honest. But all he does is post false numbers in this video and continue to push the propaganda from the Chinese government. I'm not impressed, Nathan. Not even slightly. He talks about the subpar food and even some animals being abused and even killed, even though this happens yearly with the Yulin Dog Festival, and all of a sudden he's an animal rights activist, I suppose. He admits that the Chinese government has made mistakes with quarantine zones, saying that they are unacceptable living quarters. He says some people were not able to get proper medical attention when they needed it. But Nathan, were these people saying these things? Are the people that are living in these, not proper conditions, are those foreigners or are those Chinese people? Oh, that's right. Those are Chinese people. You see, the same Chinese people that are told to depend on the same government that is failing. The government that you are also saying is doing a good job. You see, Chinese people have no freedoms in this way. But Nathan, how heartless does it get? He downplays a man that can't get medical attention as being overly emotional.
Now, personally, I don't accept people getting angry as any kind of actual incident. Some guy yelling on the phone about his parents may be emotionally effective, but people do exaggerate emotions quite often, so we need to stick to facts and provable issues, or at least reasonable assumptions.
搿是阿拉爷，从早上的8点钟120来来回回去了2趟，没医院接手。告居委讲医院肯定能接手的，现在就搿种状况，没人救，也没人来处理搿桩事体。那侪是爷娘养的，是人做出来个事体伐？我现在消毒，把它装垃圾桶掉。为什么？那我们吃什么？这我不管，先消毒。做完还是酸，有句话
他不让你进吗？
小区不让进的。
人家住在里面，他不让人家进，有这个道理吗？
已经去跟街道讲了，街道就讲了这问题啊。是小区对的，街道。
He downplays people unable to get food as overly emotional. He downplays screaming people that say that they want to die as overly emotional. He wants to stick to facts and provide provable issues. By this, he means the fake statistics the Chinese government gives the Chinese people. I'm sorry, Nathan. Thanks, but no thanks. I trust the voices of the Chinese people that are crying and begging for medicine. I trust the voices of the Chinese people that are begging for medicine. I trust the voices of the Chinese people that are having mental breakdowns saying that they want to kill themselves.
Though we have seen a few tragic incidents of suicide or suicide attempts, I'm not personally aware of any that were actually caused by the lockdown. But again, the lockdown has had some negative effects. There are some people who literally have not been able to get enough food for themselves. We can assume that to be true based on the evidence we've seen. We can safely assume that some of the reports of the incidents online are bogus or exaggerated, but we can also assume that yes, some of it is really true. It's not at all even close to a significant portion of the lockdown, but it doesn't matter. Those people should have never been put into a situation in which they were unsure of their next meal. The animals that were abused or killed should never have been harmed. The chaotic ground level experience of the lockdown should have never been so sloppy. People who needed medical attention should have been able to get it.
He says you can safely assume that some of these claims are true. Well, of course we can. So why not about Uyghurs? Why not about the economic situation? Why not about the people that want to kill themselves because of this? Why can we not believe that the COVID statistics are fakes? Why not the suicides? Okay? Who are you to decide as a person, as a foreigner? Who are you to decide what is real and what is not? When people are telling you that they would rather die than be locked down and you're mocking them, this is not a good look. I've never seen an individual be so ignorant and so openly stubborn as to disqualify the mental trauma that people are going through during such a horrible time. They've been locked inside of four walls for weeks at a time. And all of a sudden, you're calling the people that put them in this situation heroes.
And guess what, everyone? The Chinese government is the one to blame for all these things. And it's not just because it was literally their job to manage this. It's also because they are responsible for punishing or not punishing people who kill pets or companies who overcharge for vegetables or whatever. They are responsible for this lockdown, for all of the anti-COVID measures, really.
I'm going to end the video here with the clips of Nathan blaming the government, because that is what should be done. But then I'm also going to post the part of him showing that the government are heroes. That's right. He blames the government, and then he says that the government are heroes. The people that are failing to provide food for the Chinese people are heroes. The people that are lying about the deaths of Chinese people are heroes.
They are the ones responsible. And that's why we owe them an enormous amount of gratitude. They are, with the support of the vast majority of Chinese people, changing world history. They are showing everyone why China will soon be number one. They are truly heroes, and the fact that they continue to be heroes, no matter what the reputational cost amongst foreign commentators has been, is actually kind of inspiring.
就是我现在告诉你一个事实，就是病房很紧张，隔离点没有房间，120没有车，这个就是事实。现在嘛，让我通知人家阳性，健康云上嘛是个阴性，我们都让人家打12345投诉健康云，搞什么搞嘛？
现在连上海发布微博上面都关闭评论了。
原来昨天就想送给你的，为什么呢？因为我怕这个大家相互感染。对。但是呢，今天我想了想，因为病毒呢都不会死人的，要饿死人的。
这个楼你看都还没有封顶，进来了以后就所有人先抢被子、抢床。
这个地方没修完的，你看。那你告诉我哪里受这个？我不知道，我不是大白，我也是来隔离的。啊，
这种是连床都还没有支起来的，人家就直接睡地上了。
那你们发不发物资？
你发不发物资？你等通知，我们进去。
等通知，我们都快饿死了。
我们在锁门呢。
火灾怎么办？你告诉我火灾怎么办？这里有人。火灾怎么办？
我的孩子发烧了，阿姨，你们在哪？不好意思打扰你一下。
不是说我们不配合，是我们作为志愿者，我们根本就做不了这样的事情，对吧？这样的话，我们志愿者还怎么做？明天过后，你们封条一撕，我们志愿者都不要做。
12345也打过了，110也打过了，对吧？
我知道您都打过了，您看有结果吗？
是没结果。
我也不知道他们到底在考虑什么事情。李老师，我真的很无奈。我现在我比你更伤心，因为您仅仅是一个家庭，我看到的是无数个家庭。
对，你所谈的一切，我真的很理解。
你的情况，我以书面的形式都已报过，电话打过无数次。
谢谢你。
对不起，李老师，我无能为力。
哎，真是。